November 16th, 2019. Princess Beatrice is 31 years old. She is newly engaged to a property developer named Edoardo Mapelli Mozzi. The announcement made 7 weeks earlier through her father's office, the office of the Duke of York. She has spent months persuading her father to sit for an interview with the BBC. The producer, Sam McAllister, will later call her the Rainmaker. She was super polite, McAllister will say. Super nice, super friendly. But in that room with the people who were there, she was the one who had his interests purely at heart. At least one of Prince Andrew's advisors resigned before the broadcast in protest. Beatrice believed the interview would clear his name. The interview airs on BBC Two at 9 in the evening. It lasts 58 minutes. By the time it ends, when the Duke of York has told the British public that he took his daughter to a Pizza Express in Woking on the night he is alleged to have assaulted a 17-year-old girl. He has claimed a medical condition prevents him from sweating. He has described staying at the Manhattan home of a convicted sex offender as a convenient place to stay and attributed the decision to his tendency to be too honourable. He has called the behaviour of Jeffrey Epstein, a man who trafficked children across international borders for over a decade, unbecoming. Reportedly, Prince Andrew is pleased with his performance. He gives the Newsnight crew a tour of Buckingham Palace afterward. Within 72 hours, KPMG ends its sponsorship of Pitch at Palace. Standard Chartered withdraws its support. The University of Huddersfield sees its Chancellor resign. 230 patronages will follow. The man Beatrice tried to save has ended himself, and Beatrice helped him do it. Her sister Eugenie is 29. She works as Associate Director at Hauser and Wirth, one of the most respected contemporary art galleries in the world. She has been married for 13 months to Jack Brooksbank. She watches the same broadcast. She does not speak publicly about it. She will not speak publicly about any of it. Not the interview. Not the lawsuit, not the settlement, not the stripping of titles, not the arrest. Her silence will last 7 years and counting. One daughter tried to help, the other chose silence. Both will pay the same price. Beatrice, 31 at the time of the interview, will marry in secret with 20 guests. Her father walked down the aisle beside her and then erased from every official photograph. By 2026, she is reportedly considering relocating to America. Eugenie, 29 at the time of the interview, will be forced to resign from the anti-slavery charity she co-founded because her father's name has made an anti-trafficking organisation untenable. She has reportedly severed all contact with him. Her Instagram has been silent since November 14th, 2025. Their mother, Sarah Ferguson, will defend Andrew for 7 years as the best man I know, then be exposed in the Epstein files as having called Jeffrey Epstein her spectacular and special friend and the brother I have always wished for. She had written to Epstein about bringing myself, Beatrice and Eugenie to see him. The daughters were 19 and 20 when that message was sent. Prince Andrew, Duke of York, was the second son of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. He was born on the 19th of February 1960 at Buckingham Palace, the first child born to a reigning British monarch in 103 years. He served as a helicopter pilot in the Falklands War in 1982, flying Sea King helicopters during the conflict, and returned to Britain as a war hero at 22. The tabloids called him Randy Andy. His mother reportedly considered him her favourite. He was fourth in line to the throne at birth, a working royal with a full calendar of public engagements, and from 2001 to 2011 he served as the United Kingdom's Special Representative for International Trade and Investment, a role that granted him access to heads of state, government ministers, and classified trade briefings across the world. He met Jeffrey Epstein through Ghislaine Maxwell around 1999. Maxwell, the daughter of press baron Robert Maxwell, had known Andrew since her university days and served as the social bridge between the two men. The friendship deepened rapidly. Andrew was photographed with Epstein at Ascot Racecourse in 2000. He invited Epstein to Sandringham for a shooting weekend and to Balmoral for hunting trips. In June 2006, Andrew hosted Epstein and Maxwell at Royal Lodge for a reception ahead of a masked ball at Windsor Castle, celebrating Beatrice's 18th birthday. This was 2 months after a United States arrest warrant had been issued for Epstein for sexual assault of a minor. Epstein was arrested by Florida police 8 days after the birthday celebration. The most consequential image in the history of the British monarchy's modern scandals was captured on the evening of March 10, 2001 at Maxwell's London townhouse at 44 Kinnerton Street, Belgravia. The photograph, taken with Virginia Giuffre's yellow Kodak FunSaver disposable camera, shows Andrew with his arm around the bare waist of 17-year-old Virginia Giuffre. Maxwell stands behind them, smiling. Now, the film was developed on March 13th at a Walmart photo lab near West Palm Beach, Florida. The image was first published in March 2011 in the Mail on Sunday, which paid Giuffre $140,000 for the photograph and $20,000 for 2 interviews. Andrew would later tell Emily Maitlis on camera that he had no recollection of ever meeting this lady and suggested the photograph might have been doctored. When Epstein pleaded guilty in 2008 to soliciting prostitution from someone under 18 and received an 18-month sentence in Florida, Andrew did not publicly sever the friendship. In December 2010, he visited Epstein at his Manhattan townhouse after Epstein's release. On December 2nd, he attended a dinner party alongside Woody Allen, Katie Couric, George Stephanopoulos, and Chelsea Handler. On December 5th, he and Epstein were photographed walking together in Central Park. Those photographs were published by the News of the World in February 2011. Andrew later claimed the sole purpose of the visit was to end the friendship. Emails released in January 2026 told a different story. 1026 told a different story. One message, dated February 28, 2011, read, "I'm just as concerned for you. Don't worry about me. It would seem we are in this together and we'll have to rise above it." It was signed by AHRH, the Duke of York, KG. Beatrice was 12 years old when the photograph at Kinnerton Street was taken. Eugenie was 10. Their father's choices were already in motion before either daughter could understand what choices meant. And the Newsnight interview was recorded on November 14, 2019 at Buckingham Palace and broadcast 2 days later. 58 minutes of a prince dismantling himself on national television. The specific claims Andrew made became immediately infamous. On the night of March 10, 2001, when Giuffre alleged the first assault occurred, Andrew offered what became known as the Pizza Express alibi. "I was with the children and I'd taken Beatrice to a Pizza Express in Woking for a party at, I suppose, sort of 4 or 5 in the afternoon." He placed his own daughter's name into his defence of an allegation of sexual assault against a teenager. On Giuffre's claim that he was sweating heavily while they danced at Tramp nightclub in London, he produced the sweating claim. There's a slight problem with sweating because I have a peculiar medical condition, which is that I don't sweat or I didn't sweat at the time. I had suffered what I would describe as an overdose of adrenaline in the Falklands War when I was shot at. In the photograph, he maintained he had no recollection of ever meeting this lady, none whatsoever. On staying at Epstein's home after the conviction, a convenient place to stay. On the decision itself, my tendency to be too honourable. On Epstein's behaviour, unbecoming. On whether he regretted the friendship, the people that I met and the opportunities that I was given to learn either by him or because of him were actually very useful. 4 days later, on November 20th, 2019, Andrew released a statement stepping back from public duties. It has become clear to me over the last few days that the circumstances relating to my former association with Jeffrey Epstein has become a major disruption to my family's work. Queen Elizabeth gave her permission. Andrew stepped away from all 230 patronages. On August 9, 2021, Virginia Jeffrey filed a civil lawsuit in the United States District Court for the Southern District of New York, alleging Andrew committed sexual assault and intentional infliction of emotional distress on 3 occasions when she was 16 and 17, at Maxwell's London townhouse, at Epstein's New York mansion, and on Epstein's private Caribbean island. On January 12th, 2022, Judge Lewis A. Kaplan rejected Andrew's motion to dismiss. The following day, January 13th, in 2022, Buckingham Palace announced that with the Queen's approval and agreement, the Duke of York's military affiliations and royal patronages have been returned to the Queen, and that the Duke of York will continue not to undertake any public duties and is defending this case as a private citizen. More than 150 military veterans had written to the Queen demanding action. Andrew lost the position of Colonel of the Grenadier Guards, Honorary Air Commodore of RAF Lossiemouth, and every other honorary military role he held. On February 15th, 2022, a joint statement announced an out-of-court settlement. Andrew acknowledged that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked countless young girls over many years and pledged a substantial donation to Jeffrey's charity in support of victims' rights. But the exact amount was never officially disclosed. Estimates range from £3 million to £12 million. The settlement was reportedly funded primarily by Queen Elizabeth, approximately £7 million from the Duchy of Lancaster, along with contributions from Prince Philip's estate and then Prince Charles. Andrew has reportedly not repaid a single pound. I'm curious. Beatrice personally helped arrange the interview that accelerated her father's downfall. Of all the details in this story so far, which one do you think she replays most? Let me know in the comments. The first cost fell on the weddings. Eugenie had married Jack Brooksbank on October 12, 2018 at St George's Chapel, Windsor Castle, and before approximately 850 guests inside the chapel and 1,200 members of the public on the castle grounds. It was a full royal production. Carriages, military processions, live television coverage on ITV. But the estimated security costs of £2 million to taxpayers drew sharp criticism. Labour MPs objected. The anti-monarchist group Republic gathered approximately 50,000 petition signatures opposing public funding. A Good Morning Britain poll showed nearly 90% of respondents opposed taxpayer-funded security for the wedding. The BBC declined to broadcast it entirely. Before Andrew's scandal had reached its peak, the public was already questioning whether the York daughters deserved the trappings they were born into. And Beatrice's wedding was supposed to answer that question with quiet dignity. She and Edoardo Mapelli Mozzi became engaged in September 2019 in Italy. The announcement was made on September 26th through the Duke of York's office. The original wedding was planned for May 29, 2020 at the Chapel Royal, St James's Palace, followed by a private reception hosted by the Queen in the Buckingham Palace Gardens. Both BBC and ITV would cover it. Then, 7 weeks after the engagement announcement, Andrew sat down with Emily Maitlis. Both broadcasters announced they would not televise the wedding. Reports indicated Beatrice was devastated. The wedding plans were already being scaled back when the pandemic forced postponement. The ceremony that finally took place on July 17th, 2020 at the Royal Chapel of All Saints at Royal Lodge, bore no resemblance to what had been planned. Approximately 20 guests attended, down from over 100. Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip were present. Beatrice wore a vintage Norman Hartnell gown borrowed from the Queen, originally made for the premiere of Lawrence of Arabia in 1962, altered by Angela Kelly and Stuart Parvin. She wore the Queen Mary diamond fringed tiara, the same tiara Elizabeth had worn at her own wedding in 1947. Andrew walked Beatrice down the aisle. He was then deliberately excluded from all official wedding photographs. The father of the bride was present for the ceremony and absent from the record of it. Buckingham Palace released 2 photographs. Andrew appeared in neither. And both daughters were excluded from the sovereign grant. Neither was a working royal. Both had lost taxpayer-funded police protection in 2011, following cost-cutting measures initiated by then Prince Charles. Andrew had once written to the Queen requesting that Beatrice and Eugenie be placed on the sovereign grant as full-time working members of the family. The Queen was reportedly stunned. Charles rejected the idea immediately. The daughters' financial lives were sustained through a combination of trust funds, £1.4 million established by the Queen at the time of their parents' divorce, inheritances from the Queen Mother, Andrew's private allowance, and their own professional salaries. They were princesses in title and commoners in income. A different monarch brought a different phase of punishment, and Queen Elizabeth II had been Andrew's most steadfast protector. She approved of his stepping back from duties, she approved the stripping of military titles, but she allowed him to keep his Duke of York title, his Prince title, and his HRH style. An email from Andrew's advisor to Epstein in February 2011 offered a rare glimpse of her private view. He has full support of his mum. Only dealing with you was unwise. Her most controversial act came on March 29, 2022, at a service of thanksgiving for Prince Philip at Westminster Abbey. The Queen, 95 years old, arrived by car with Andrew, who escorted her on his arm through a side entrance, deviating from the planned programme in which he was supposed to enter separately with Beatrice and Eugenie. Elizabeth died on September 8th, 2022. Charles III ascended the throne and adopted a fundamentally different approach. He had championed a slimmed-down monarchy since the 1990s. The timeline of his actions against Andrew is striking in its methodical escalation. Stripping of rooms at Buckingham Palace in January 2023. Withdrawal of security funding in August 2024. In December 2024, the Chinese spy scandal broke. Yang Tengbo, a Chinese businessman who had co-founded Pitch at Palace China in 2014, was revealed to have forged what MI5 assessed as an unusual degree of trust with Andrew. Yang had been invited to Andrew's 60th birthday party and was authorized to act on Andrew's behalf in business meetings with Chinese investors. Andrew was excluded from the royal family's Christmas celebrations at Sandringham. On October 17, 2025, Andrew issued a statement relinquishing use of his Duke of York title. The continued accusations about me distract from the work of His Majesty and the royal family. On October 30, 2025, King Charles formally initiated removal of all remaining titles and honours. Letters patent dated November 3, 2025 declared Andrew would no longer hold Royal Highness or the titular dignity of Prince. He became Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. His honorary rank of Vice Admiral was removed by December 13th. The palace announced formal notice to surrender the lease on Royal Lodge, and the 30-room mansion Andrew had occupied since 2003 under a 75-year lease. He relocated to Wood Farm on the Sandringham estate in early February 2026. The palace statement was notably precise. These censures are deemed necessary, notwithstanding the fact that he continues to deny the allegations against him. Their Majesties wish to make clear that their thoughts and utmost sympathies have been, and will remain with, the victims and survivors of any and all forms of abuse. Beatrice and Eugenie dropped out of public events following the title announcement. Reports indicate both sisters will not attend Royal Ascot 2026. Both skipped Easter 2026 at Windsor, breaking years of tradition. On January 30th, 2026, the United States Department of Justice released a massive tranche of Epstein files. Over 3 million pages, 180,000 images, and 2,000 videos. Among the contents were photographs of Andrew in compromising positions at Epstein's properties, emails suggesting he forwarded confidential government trade reports to Epstein while serving as United Kingdom trade envoy, and communications in which Epstein offered to arrange dinner at Buckingham Palace with lots of privacy. Additional emails from August 2010 showed Epstein introducing Andrew to a 26-year-old Russian woman described as beautiful and trustworthy, to which Andrew replied he would be delighted to see her. On February 19th, 2026, his 66th birthday, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor was arrested at Sandringham by Thames Valley Police on suspicion of misconduct in public office, relating to allegations he shared sensitive government information with Epstein during his tenure as trade envoy. He was held for approximately 11 hours, questioned, and released under investigation. It was the first arrest of a senior British royal in nearly 400 years. King Charles issued a statement within hours. Let me state clearly, the law must take its course. The following day, police searched Andrew's former residence at Royal Lodge. The Epstein files contained a separate revelation that struck directly at the daughters. Sarah Ferguson had written to Epstein referring to him as her spectacular and special friend and the brother I have always wished for. She wrote, "I am so proud of you while he was serving time. One message referenced bringing myself, Beatrice and Eugenie to see him. The daughters were 19 and 20 years old at the time. Sources close to the family say both sisters are putting pieces of the puzzle together in real time and realizing they may have been used." Eugenie stepped down from Anti-Slavery International in March 2026. The irony required no commentary. A princess who had dedicated years to fighting modern slavery, forced to leave an anti-slavery organisation because of her father's association with a convicted sex trafficker. Princess Beatrice Elizabeth Mary, born August 8, 1988. I am at the Portland Hospital, London. 9th in the line of succession, diagnosed with dyslexia at age 7. She attended Upton House School in Windsor, Coworth Park School in Surrey, and St George's School in Ascot, where she was elected head girl in her final year despite delaying her GCSEs by 1 year because of her learning difference. She earned A-levels in drama, history and film studies, then graduated from Goldsmiths University of London in 2011 with a 2-1 in history and history of ideas. She built a career in finance and technology, stints at Sandbridge Capital and Sony Pictures, then nearly a decade as Vice President of Partnerships and Strategy at Affinity, an artificial intelligence software company, before transitioning to strategic advisor in June 2025. So in 2025, she co-founded Purpose Economy Intelligence Limited, a consultancy. Her dyslexia advocacy became her most compelling public contribution. She served as royal patron of the Helen Arkell Dyslexia Charity from 2013. Dyslexia is not a pigeonhole to say you can't do anything, she said. It is an opportunity and a possibility to learn differently. You have magical brains, they just process differently. She described her diagnosis as a gift. She married Edoardo Mapelli Mozzi, a property developer from an Anglo-Italian noble family, in the diminished ceremony of July 2020. And 2 daughters followed. Sienna Elizabeth Mapelli Mozzi, born September 18, 2021. Athena Elizabeth Rose. Mapelli Mozzi, born prematurely on January 22, 2025, as weighing 4 pounds and 5 ounces. Neither daughter holds a royal title. In November 2025, King Charles named Beatrice Deputy Patron of the Outward Bound Trust, alongside Prince Edward, a lifeline extended from the institution her father had damaged. Reports in March 2026 suggested she was considering relocating to the United States. Her marriage faced public scrutiny, with tabloids reporting tension, though friends dismissed the claims. A lip reader reportedly observed Beatrice telling Eugenie during a public outing in early 2026, "We're in this together, don't forget that. And it's going to get harder, and we can't do anything." She is 37 years old. She remains a princess. Her most revealing public statement came from a British Vogue interview in September 2018, a year before the Newsnight disaster. "There is no precedent," she said. "There is no protocol. We are the first. We are young women trying to build careers and have personal lives, and we're also princesses and doing all of this in the public eye." Princess Eugenie Victoria Helena, born March 23, 1990 at the Portland Hospital, London, by caesarean section, 12th in the line of succession. At age 12 in October 2002, she underwent an 8-hour operation at the Royal National Orthopaedic Hospital to correct scoliosis. Surgeons inserted two 12-inch titanium rods into each side of her spine and 1.5-inch screws at the top of her neck. She spent 3 days in intensive care and 6 days in a wheelchair before walking again. "Without the care I received at the RNOH, I wouldn't look the way I do now," she wrote. "My back would be hunched over." Her mother turned the scar into a source of pride, telling people, "My daughter is superhuman. You've got to check out her scar." Eugenie credited this approach. "All of a sudden it was a badge of honour. A cool thing I had." She attended Marlborough College and graduated from Newcastle University in 2012 with a 2:1 in English Literature and History of Art. She joined Hauser and Wirth in July 2015 as Associate Director, later promoted to Director, a role she continues to hold. In 2017, she co-founded the Anti-Slavery Collective with Julia de Boinville. She became patron of Anti-Slavery International in October 2019. On October 12, 2018, she married Jack Brooksbank at St George's Chapel, Windsor Castle, and specifically requested that her dress, designed by Peter Pilotto and Christopher de Vos, have a low back to display her scoliosis scar. She chose not to wear a veil. "I think you can change the way beauty is," she said, "and you can show people your scars, and I think it's really special to stand up for that." 2 sons followed. August Philip Hawke Brooksbank, born February 9, 2021. Ernest George Ronnie Brooksbank, born May 30, 2023. Neither holds a royal title. And in March 2026, she stepped down from both the Anti-Slavery Collective and Anti-Slavery International, amid the fallout from her father's arrest and the Epstein file revelations. Sources quoted in January 2026 reported there is no contact at all, nothing. She has completely cut him off. This contrasts with Beatrice, who is reportedly trying to walk the fine line of not cutting her father off and yet remaining close with the royal family. Eugenie has not posted on her personal Instagram since November 14th, 2025. She splits time between Ivy Cottage at Kensington Palace and Portugal, where Jack works for Costa Terra Golf and Ocean Club. She is 36 years old. She remains a princess. Now the daughter who showed the world her scar and said it was a badge of honour has chosen to make her father's name the one thing she will not carry. Sarah Ferguson married Prince Andrew on July 23, 1986, at Westminster Abbey in a ceremony watched by an estimated 500 million viewers. Their separation was announced on March 19, 1992. The divorce was finalised on May 30th, 1996. Sarah lost the style Her Royal Highness but retained Duchess of York. What made the arrangement extraordinary was the cohabitation that followed. Despite divorcing in 1996, they continued living together. First informally, then at Royal Lodge from approximately 2004 until Andrew's eviction in early 2026. "Well, we are the happiest divorced couple in the world," Sarah said. "We're divorced to each other, not from each other." For years, she defended Andrew with an intensity that bordered on performance. In December 2019, she told Vogue Arabia, "To see such a wonderful man go through such enormous pain. He is the best man I know." In April 2023, she told Good Morning Britain, "He's such a good man. He's a kind good man. He's a very good grandfather." In 2015, she called Jeffrey's allegations a salacious lie, and Andrew one of the greatest men I've ever met in my life. Then the Epstein files arrived. Emails showed she had referred to Epstein as her spectacular and special friend. Written, "I am so proud of you," while he served time, and discussed bringing her daughters to visit him. Multiple charities cut ties with her. Sarah's Trust shuttered in February 2026. She was diagnosed with breast cancer in June 2023, treated with a single mastectomy, and malignant melanoma in January 2024, discovered during reconstructive surgery. She described the double diagnosis as feeling like a death sentence. Sources in 2026 suggest her stance has shifted from fierce defender to potential cooperating witness. One insider was quoted, "At some point, survival outranks loyalty." The Vogue interview from September 2018 remains the clearest window into the sisters' inner world. Beatrice, there is no precedent. There is no protocol. We are the first. We are young women trying to build careers and have personal lives. And we're also princesses, and doing all of this in the public eye. Eugenie described the emotional reality directly. There was a horrible article that had been written about Beatrice, and she got really upset. We were just about to step out, and she had a bit of a wobble and cried. I was looking after her. And then about an hour later, I had a wobble and started crying, and B was there for me. That interview was published 14 months before the Newsnight broadcast. The wobbles described there were over tabloid coverage of their fashion choices. What followed made fashion coverage look like kindness. If you're enjoying this, subscribing is the best way to support the channel. It's free, and it helps us keep going. Under King George V's letters patent of 1917, one, the style Prince or Princess and HRH is limited to children of the monarch, grandchildren through the male line, and certain great-grandchildren. Beatrice and Eugenie hold their titles as granddaughters of Elizabeth II, not through Andrew. King Charles has made no letters patent extending titles to the next generation. Beatrice's daughters hold courtesy Italian noble titles through Edoardo Mapelli Mozzi, but no royal titles. Eugenie's sons have no titles at all. The current line of succession places Andrew Mountbatten Windsor 8th, Beatrice 9th, her daughter Sienna 10th, her daughter Athena 11th, Eugenie 12th, her son August 13th, and her son Ernest 14th. Such removing Andrew from the line would require an Act of Parliament and the consent of all 14 Commonwealth realms. Legislation the United Kingdom government is reportedly considering. Constitutional scholars note that Beatrice and Eugenie hold their positions in their own right and would not automatically be removed even if their father were. Neither daughter receives sovereign grant money. Both are financially independent through their careers and family trusts. Andrew's own finances have been precarious since his fall. His only confirmed income is a £20,000 per year Royal Navy pension. He previously received approximately £250,000 per year from the Queen's private funds, which Charles reportedly cut entirely in 2024. The sale of Sunninghill Park in 2007 for £15 million to a Kazakh billionaire, and the Verbier Chalet, purchased for approximately 22 million Swiss francs in 2014, sold for approximately £19 million in 2022, generated little net profit after debts, outstanding mortgage obligations, and legal settlements. The taxpayer security bill for Andrew, Sarah Ferguson, Beatrice and Eugenie has been estimated at over £100 million across their lifetimes. Beatrice's daughter Athena Elizabeth Rose Mapelli Mozzi was born on January 22, 2025. She weighed 4 pounds and 5 ounces. She carries the name Elizabeth, after the great-grandmother who shielded Andrew until her death, who funded his settlement from the Duchy of Lancaster, who allowed him to escort her on his arm to Westminster Abbey 2 months after he paid millions to a woman he said he had no recollection of ever meeting. Athena holds no royal title. She is 11th in line to the throne her grandfather can never occupy again. She was 4 weeks old when the Epstein files were released. She was 28 days old when the world saw photographs of her grandfather at Jeffrey Epstein's properties. She will grow up carrying the name of a queen and the surname of a man stripped of every honour the crown could bestow. The name is hers now. What she does with it is the only part of this story that has not yet been written.